It's baffled scholars for 2 millennia. It is a puzzle made of multi-dimensional elements, an enigma with roots that reach back to the dawning of time, perhaps before. Daniel explained part of it. Ezekiel and Isaiah had glimpses into it. John saw it all for the time of the end. That time is now. Join Derek and Sharon Gilbert on a journey that spans the course of history, from Eden to Mount Hermon, from Hermon to Babel, from Babel to Rome, from Rome to the cross, and from there to us. Biblical prophecy is coming true before your eyes, and to understand it, you must discern the times both then and now. It's time to unravel the threads of this all-encompassing prophetic paradox. It's time to unravel Revelation.
Welcome to Unraveling Revelation. I'm Derek Gilbert.
I'm Sharon Gilbert, and we are recording this on the 11th of October. So you're not going to be watching this for another couple of weeks, but today it is day 5, I think, of the Israel-Hamas war. And by the time you're watching this, I pray, is resolved.
Right. Obviously, this is not a format where we can do breaking news, so we won't try to do that here. What we will try to do, and later in the program, we'll bring you the first part of a 2-part interview with Bible prophecy scholar and, a Persian who is now living in Canada, raised in Iran in a secular household, Ali Siadatan.
He's now a believer.
He is now a believer, praise God. He has accepted our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and it was Bible prophecy that helped bring him to the Lord. So as we try to make sense of what's going on in the world around us today, this is the context to kind of timestamp it. And again, by the time you see this, things will be very different on the ground in Israel and certainly in Gaza. We pray for a swift resolution with as little loss of life as possible. But as we remember that we're not contending with human opponents here, wrestling not against flesh and blood, as Paul wrote. And there are principalities and powers behind the scenes, demonic minions that are trying to stir up as much death, destruction, and hatred as they possibly can.
That is so true. As of this moment, I have seen so much venom on social media from all sides.
Yeah.
And sadly, there is a lot of anti-Semitic fervor going on in major cities throughout the world, in Australia, in Canada, in Great Britain, in the United States, in other parts of Europe. But there are also supportive actions taking place throughout the world. One of those...
I'm chuckling because here we're having our monthly air raid siren test, emergency warning system test, and isn't it apropos that this is going off as we're discussing the situation in Israel?
I doubt that you could even hear it. It's
probably not, but in the background, the siren is going here.
Yes, but sadly in Israel, they are getting a lot of sirens. And as I say, you get venom on social media, but we're also seeing support. In fact, the Titus Arch was lit up in Rome. That is a big moment. If you don't know what the Titus Arch is, tell us what it represents.
This was the arch, a victory arch, which was not just a symbol of victory, but it also had some religious context in the religion of ancient Rome. But it depicts the victory of the Roman general Titus, who later became emperor, I believe he became emperor. I'm going to have to look that up now that I said that.
He crushed Jerusalem. He crushed Israel.
Yes, the destruction of Jerusalem and the great Jewish rebellion of the years 67 to 70 AD. But on this arch is depicted Roman soldiers carrying off the menorah from the temple. And for that to be now lit up in the colors and with the Israeli flag on it. We'll put a picture of this on the screen here so that you can see it. It's just really, really amazing.
It really got both of us this morning when we saw that up there. But other places have been lit up. Parliament in the UK, the
Eiffel Tower.
Parts of our own country is lit up. The New York was lighting up various symbols of freedom and, frankly, symbols of world government throughout the world. It's really tempting to look at Bible prophecy and say, well, this fits this, and we know this is this. We don't really know any of that yet.
Yeah. And I was right, by the way. Titus was emperor. He
I thought he
succeeded his
was.
father Vespasian, who initially led the Roman military response to the Jewish rebellion. So about 10 years after carrying off the menorah from the temple in Jerusalem, Titus became the emperor of Rome. And again, for that arch to be lit up with the Israeli flag is just an amazing thing. Prophetically speaking, this should not surprise us because, as we've said on this program, this entire supernatural war is for control of God's Har Moed, which is Hebrew for Mount of Assembly. That is the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. That's what this is all about ultimately, and why there is so much irrational, what seems to us as irrational anger and hatred. I think most of us who are not Jews don't really have that connection to the land on which we live, that we can have the same frame of reference that it means to people, Israeli Jews living in Israel, friends of ours who live in Samaria, which the world calls the West Bank. There is a connection there that is a deep, deep love that stems from the spiritual connection to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Parts of Jerusalem are in the West Bank, which really is surprising. But one of the other things that Derek and I have seen happening, and again, this will be old news, and I pray it hasn't escalated further, but Lebanon has gotten involved in this. And when Derek and I were in Israel in March of this year, we went with Yishai Avatal to Metula. Yes, I always want to say Metamora. No, it's Metula, which is a kibbutz, which is the farthest north towards Lebanon. And while we were there, beautiful little town, while we were there, we could see across this V-shaped valley white vehicles. And our guide says, "Oh, Hezbollah."
Yeah.
And of course, that wouldn't be funny today at all, because indeed, Hezbollah fighters were trying to cross that valley into Metula, and they were turned back. But had they gotten in there, they would have done the same thing that Hamas tried to do and did do in parts of the border with Gaza.
Right. And this has been ongoing since Joshua led the Israelites across the Jordan River 3,400 years ago. And again, it's all about the land that God has declared his own and the place where he has placed his name and where he will dwell forever. That's what Bible prophecy is all about and why we spend so much time studying it. And coming up after the break, our discussion for part one of our discussion with Ali Siadatan.
Hi, everybody. Believe it or not, this is October, and that means you get a brand new GHTV special offer.
We're approaching Halloween, the time of year when the world around us is focused on ghosts and goblins and devils and demons.
But they're real.
They're real, and we'd like to give you good information about those entities with our October special. First, our book Veneration, where we analyze the ancient cult of the Nephilim, the origin of demons exposed in this book. Vicki Joy Anderson's important book, They Only Come Out at Night, about night terrors and sleep paralysis.
You need this book at home for your kids and grandkids. Trust me, it is a great book.
And 7 hours of audio interviews with the late Dr. Michael Heiser about the nature of the unseen realm.
Oh, this is a collector's disc.
It really is. Altogether, these 3 items purchased separately worth $65 during the month of October, just $35 plus shipping and handling. Take advantage of this because this is good, solid, scholarly information, especially the content from Dr. Heiser.
It is, and particularly this month, you want to be armed with the truth when your family asks, what about witches? What about wizards? What about these things at Halloween? What do we do with this? It's a time to teach.
Absolutely. Take advantage of our October special offer. Veneration, They Only Come Out at Night, and The Unseen Adversary, yours for just $35 plus shipping and handling only at gilberthouse.org/store. Joining us this week on Unraveling Revelation is a gentleman we have come to know, and we are honored to call him our friend. He is a writer, a documentary filmmaker. You can find his work online at thinkagainproductions.com. He's got a very unique background and insight into what is happening around the world today. We welcome Ali Siadatan to the program. Ali, not many of the folks in our audience will have the perspective that you have. Being raised in Iran, what insight can you share as to the mindset behind what is going on? And bearing in mind, of course, the U.S. government is still, as of this recording, not confirming Iranian involvement behind the scenes, even though that's been reported by the Wall Street Journal. What would be the religious ideology behind this attack that took place just a few days ago as we're recording this.
Yeah, the religious ideology is called Mahdaviyat, which means things concerning the Mahdi. And the Mahdi is the messianic figure of Shia Islam. It means the rightly guided one. And the Mahdaviyat means things concerning the Mahdi. This is not an ideology that was so, pronounced even in Shiism. It was kind of in the background. And when the 1979 revolution happened, we were at the epicenter of what was downloaded, which was a theocracy. The Article 6 of the Constitution says that basically the supreme leader has received his power from Allah and is essentially, like the vicar of this character, the hidden imam, until he appears. He's the replacement of it. He's here to guide things according to, this celestial power. This is right in the Constitution. That's why when people protest, and he allows the protest, and eventually he then pronounces himself on the protest and says, no, this person won the election, or no, I no longer agree with this, then the forces can go and push these guys down legally because Article 6 is invoked. The representative of God has spoken. And if you disagree with him now, then it's a form of heresy. It's a form of treason. And so there's an actual law that is applied. It seems really crazy for people outside. So basically, a theology is put forward, and gradually over the course of the decades, this idea comes more and more to the forefront. And on September 28th, the Iranian Armed Forces Chief of Staff, General Mohammad Bagheri, he delivers this speech, and people can watch it on memory.org. Where this is just a few weeks ago, like 2 weeks ago. And there are all these IRGC soldiers standing. There's several thousand of them. And it really does look like a Nazi rally. And on the ground, it says, Israel must be erased off the face of the earth in Farsi and in Hebrew. And his entire message that this commander of the IRGC is saying is about the 12th Imam. His entire speech is about how we are the soldiers of this character, of this. And while we're waiting for him to come, we must be hard at work promoting the cause of Islam. And he gives a list of qualities that we all could agree with: perseverance, and not giving up, and being tenacious and going forward, etc. And then he ends the speech by saying, what do you think will happen when he does return? Well, he's going to take arms against the arrogance, which is a term they use for the global powers. They call it the international arrogance, the great powers like America and Europe and Russia. These are the international arrogance. Those who are armed to the teeth. This is what he's saying, and again, that refers to the great industrial military complexes of the world. And he says he'll need an army of righteous people to follow him into this great battle. And of course, he's talking to these people that are in front of him. And if you go back to, let's say I have this here, because I've been documenting this for years. This one is from memory as well, the Middle Eastern Media Research Institute. I still remember when Memory was launched as a website. So on April 22nd, 2005, this is from 2005. It's from a Iranian news agency, Fars News Agency. Ayatollah Nuri Hamadani, discussing Shiite religious texts, said, one should fight the Jews and vanquish them so that the conditions for the advent of the hidden Imam be met. According to the Fars News Agency's report, Ayatollah Hamadani met with members of the Mahdaviyat Studies, the group that studies this whole eschatology of Shiism. Mahdaviyat Studies Institute, he praised the Institute's work and demanded that the religious seminaries in Qom also do more to research religious texts and hadith concerning the hidden Imam. This is in 2005. But I've noticed how this ideology, which is kind of like something on the side, like not all Christians believe in the end times, not all Jews believe in the building of the third temple. The Shias originally in the revolution, the idea was to have a Islamic state within Iran that's on Sharia law. And then as far as the region is concerned, the main quality these guys talked about was justice. And it was a huge thing in Shiism. So, deliver the holy sites in the south of Iraq from the hand of the Ba'athist party and the Sunnis, and the free Jerusalem, or Quds as they call it, remove Israel because it's oppressing the Palestinians. So that was about justice. But I saw how over the course of the decades, this eschatological idea became more and more to the forefront. So in 2005, here's an Ayatollah visiting this institute, but now in 2023, there's an entire rally where the chief of staff of the IRGC is personally making a speech, and they also have launched a new group within the IRGC. Its entire job is to indoctrinate new recruits into this perspective. They don't know when it's going to go down because they're kind of waiting for the sign. That's how they think. They don't have a plan. They have a goal, but the timing is in the hands of the 12th Imam, as he will speak it through the supreme leader. So they're training the next generation, right? And because more and more the country has withdrawn from them, and they've become more and more isolated, every sector of the culture has, over the past 40 years, one at a time, removed its support from them. Even the clergy, many people even in the clergy have removed their support from them. In their isolation, I think this is their only ticket out. They're like, this will solve all of our problems. If we can actually pull this off and, sacrifice Israel at the altar of the 12th Imam, he will come and the whole world will know we were right. And righteousness will fill the earth, ala Shia, and the whole world will know we were right. So I think the fact that they've been isolated is promoting this. Also, when President Trump pulled out of the JCPOA, inside of the country, the supreme leader had essentially decided to go with the faction that saw the existence of the Islamic Republic better secured through international diplomacy and contracts. The idea was, if we have these international deals, we can continue slowly behind the curtain to carry out our ideological beliefs, because one of their main goals is to survive. That's one of the chief things that the founder of the revolution handed down to them, that the greatest priority is the survival of the regime, he told them, because then it can carry out its goals. It's a saying, everyone says it. Once he pulled out, the hardliners, if we call them here, those who are more religious oriented and conservative and into this stuff, they said to him, you see, we told you. You shouldn't have listened to those guys. You can't trust the great Satan, and you can't trust, these guys. They're totally controlled by the forces of darkness, and they'll betray their word, they'll pull out of their deals. We should have relied on Allah and just gone forward in our thinking. So I think I'm not there, but I think he shifted his allegiance to them and aligned with them, because I noticed a massive ramp up of this ideology and the manifestation of it, which comes in circling Israel, suddenly a ramping up of that since the withdrawal from the JCPOA, and especially since the rise of the presidency of Biden. I think that they feel that somehow the Democratic left has a kinship with their thinking towards Israel. It's not a conspiracy. They're not like they're calling each other on the phone, but they're like, these guys don't seem to mind. They give us money. I mean, they just received $6.5 billion from the United States. Well, it was their own money technically. It was in South Korea. They had sold oil to South Korea, and the money was locked because you have to pay in US dollars. And the American government controls, the movement of dollar and can put sanctions, say this person or this government can't command the movement of US dollar. So this is what had happened, and there was a secret negotiation that we don't know about between the Biden administration and them that saw the freeing of this, and also because of inflation, even though there are sanctions in place about the sale of oil, yet the administration is allowing them, turning a blind eye and letting their ships go through, and they're selling right now 4 million barrels a day, which is full capacity for Iran. So they're really cashed up. That they had the money to do this, but so the ideology essentially that has come to the surface, it's a mixture of anti-Semitism, which was kind of planted there a long time ago, the same way that The Mufti of Jerusalem met with Hitler and founded the Muslim Brotherhood and brought anti-Semitism, and he was basically an Arab Nazi, into that part of
Right.
the Islamic world, and those thinkings got mixed with Islam. The father of the last king allied himself with Germany, and Radio Berlin began to broadcast in Persian, and that, I think, started all this anti-Semitic rebellions or harassments inside of Iran, and sowed something in the country that then was Islamicized. Now, in 1979, when the revolution happened, the king he saw himself in the line of Cyrus. And as you know, the Hebrew Bible, in its Hebrew canon, the order of Hebrew canon, ends with the decree of King Cyrus. That God speaks through Cyrus and says, go and build my house in Jerusalem, go up to Jerusalem. That's how the Hebrew Bible ends. But in 1979, the change of the guard in Iran put down the government that held that decree as an ancient law of the country. It was something, Iran had a good relations with Israel, and that allowed the king to say, look, even our past records, we have it, because that exists in Iran too, that we have it, the Cyrus decree. Therefore, we uphold it. But the new regime said, no, we forget the dynasty of kings. They were not Muslims. They were infidels. And especially at the beginning of the revolution, they were very fervent on erasing the past. And so we now have a new perspective born of Islamic thought concerning Israel. And that will be the law of the land. So there was this anti-Semitic ideology at the beginning of it. There was this idea of justice and how to apply that to the entire region, which meant remove the Sunnis, remove Israel, and ultimately the Christians, and then the Hindus. I know it sounds like a big, tall order, but when you believe that, God has given you power to accomplish your vision, nothing is, too bold and too tall. So justice just was a code word for everyone will understand that everybody's wrong and we're right. And then this eschatological Mahdaviyyat slowly became more and more pronounced. And today, I would say, is the defining principle of the government at the level of the parliament, at the level of the IRGC, and many people. Now, understand that Iran is a multi-layered system, meaning that millions, like maybe 80% of the country, has withdrawn from the government completely. It's really very ripe, like a fruit that's ripe for a change. And since the majority of the people were born after the revolution and after the war with Iraq, there was a baby boom when the soldiers came back. So 70% of the country is under the age of 35.
Wow.
And these people are absolutely want a new life. And all they saw was this weird thing, and then through the internet and side television, they saw everything. I remember going there once, and these young guys who were in my family and now had grown up and they're in their 20s, and they finally understand what was going on. And one of them said to me, "So let me get this straight. Other than North Korea, we're the only isolated country in the world because our leader has a personal grudge with the U.S." And I was like, yes. So they're kind of catching up to what they were living under. So they don't want this. That's why Christianity is huge in Iran. It's where the Muslim revival, like towards not Muslim revival, but the evangelism or revival, because there was Christianity. I mean, look at the Council of Nicaea. One of the signatories is John of Persia, and the missionaries through the Silk Road, they were launched from Persia. So there was this ancient Christianity, and now it's really come back in full force. It's leading, and other Zoroastrianism, secularism, anything but Islam, basically. That's what these young guys want. And so there is a turning of the guard. Underneath, there's a new growth pushing, but these guys are now fully armed. They're fortifying themselves ideologically. They have all the money in the world, and they have this laser focus on this is their only ticket out. If they can actually pull this off and summon the Mahdi, then all of their problems are resolved. And the supreme leader and some of the other guys in the government are getting old. Like the head of the judiciary, I think he's 92 years old, even though he's very spry. He's just like, whoa, There's all these jokes. Iranians make all kinds of jokes about how power, can keep these guys spry. That they wake up in the morning. So these guys are dying, and I think that's also part of their motivation. It's like now or never type of thing.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Demographics are not in their favor, and we're seeing this elsewhere around the world too, as the Chinese population is expected to drop by at least half by the end of this century. So a lot of elements are being moved into place for events to culminate in the end of the age, but that's not necessarily bad news. It won't be easy times ahead, but we'll talk more about that in our next program, Ali, about why we as Christians can look at this without a spirit of fear. And we thank you for joining us this week on Unraveling Revelation.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me, Derek.
It's interesting that we don't see this from the Iranian perspective. I'd always been taught that Shia Muslims don't believe that they can prompt the Mahdi's return, and that is true. But of course, Ali, having been raised there, points out that they can and are trying to. And this has been a growing belief inside the ruling class in Iran, rather, since the revolution, to prepare the way by eliminating Israel.
Well, I think when Ahmadinejad took power about 20 years ago,
Right.
he wanted to do that. He felt that was his mission in life, and he's still alive. I think he still feels that way.
Yeah, but he would not have been allowed to do that had that not been acceptable to the ruling ayatollahs.
Yes.
Khomeini and now Khamenei, that is their mission. As Ali pointed out, the people on the ground in Iran are pulling away from the ruling ayatollahs, but certainly from a geopolitical standpoint, and of course we also look at the theopolitics involved, because this is a spiritual war. They did not want Iran, or rather Israel, drawing any closer to Saudi Arabia, their main rival. Sunnis and Shias really, really don't get along. And Iran and Saudi Arabia are the two main Muslim powers representing Sunni and Shia Islam. So disrupting any kind of normalization between the Saudis and Israel was the goal.
That's a big topic. We'll have to cover a bit of that next week, but we want to quickly, those of you who are wondering, are we going to Israel next spring? Yes, we are. Unless something major happens, we plan to go and prove that you cannot keep us out of Israel.
Amen. We will, of course, keep an eye on the situation and our team on the ground there in Israel. Thankfully, at this point, all safe. They will not allow tourists to come into the country if they don't feel they can guarantee their security. But we will say that we were there in 2018 when the days of rage erupted along the Gaza Strip because of the move of the American embassy to Jerusalem. We never, for a single moment, felt like we were in any kind of danger.
We felt safer there than we would have had we been in Chicago.
That is a fact, or Washington, D.C. for that matter. But we will keep you apprised, and we'll continue our conversation with Ali Siadatan next week on Unraveling Revelation.
Unraveling Revelation is a viewer-supported outreach of Gilbert House Ministries. Follow us online at unravelingrevelation.tv and gilberthouse.org. We'd love to hear from you. Contact us through our websites or drop us a line at P.O. Box 78, Crane, Missouri 65633.